Hi, I'm Allison Strong. I'm a Broadway, TV, and film actress from here in the Garden State, and I'm inviting you to watch my friend Mabel Aragon on her show Kickin' It with Mabel, where she interviews a lot of cool guests, myself included. Tune in.
We're joined by Ralph Rivera, award-winning filmmaker and author, who is going to give us a behind-the-scenes look at his latest book, Dream Chaser, The Business of Showbiz, which has been nominated by the 22nd International Latino Book Awards. Ralph, welcome.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
It's a pleasure.
Thank
You've been referred to as a Hollywood trailblazer, known in the industry for your work as a movie financier, executive, and author. Would you say this book is somewhat a sum of all of your experiences and what you've learned?
Well, I think, this particular Dream Chaser, which is a series, the first book that I wrote for the digital market ebook, a picture ebook, goes back into the early days. Back as far as the 1860s, where my great-grandfather migrated from France and found his way to Puerto Rico. And I call it the early years. The second Dream Chaser, that one is called From the Hills of Puerto Rico to the Hollywood Hills. My second Dream Chaser book, is also an ebook, is titled Growing Up in the South Bronx, which, as you know, was a turbulent place. And it was during the 50s and 60s when a lot of horrible things were going on. As I kept writing, I felt that an important, aspect of my memoirs was how I transitioned into the entertainment business. I start Dream Chaser, The Business of Showbiz, which is a hardcover book, picture book, and I started in the turbulent 1970s. There was so much going on in the 1970s, not only around the world with the communist situation going on around the world, but also within the entertainment industry, which was growing leaps and bounds. There was mergers, acquisitions. They were doing things that to try and create new conglomerates within the entertainment business. I was lucky enough to be presented to a small company owned by Marvin Josephson, who was a client of Price Waterhouse. I wanted to leave Price Waterhouse because I was not just a numbers guy, if you know what I mean. I wanted to do much more than just the numbers. So they introduced me to this gentleman who hired me to help him fulfill his dream, which was to create a conglomerate. And so I write about how we were able to take this little company, at that time was making, several $1 million to over $500 million. I write about how, you have to think out of the box. And at the same time, it was a time, that Latinos were not basically involved in the high echelon of entertainment. And in most corporations, the same thing was happening, but in particular, in entertainment, Latinos were unheard of. So I said to myself, I am going to find ways to bring my people into this business. So to me, one of my main focus was to open up doors.
You were born in Puerto Rico. So as a Latino, and you just mentioned Latinos, do you feel somewhat, I guess you did actually, you just responded to that. You felt somewhat of a responsibility to try to bring Latinos in.
Correct.
My question to you is, things have certainly changed. We're seeing more acknowledgement of actors, of executive directors. However, it's not enough change. What do you think it's going to take? What do you think still needs to be done?
The most important thing, Mabel, is how do we get to the development people at the studios, at the networks, at the streaming services? I'll give you a great example. This past Sunday, I watched the Emmy Awards. Were virtual, nicely done. However, we are 60 million strong in the United States. There was not one presenter that was Latino. So what does that tell you? We are invisible in the eyes of corporate, entertainment and the visual media, because they're not telling us stories. They don't want to tell us our stories. And that's basically up at the level in development. How do we change the views of the development? Because again, we are major moviegoers, Mabel. We go to the movies, Latinos in general, 7 times more than the general public. 7 times, Mabel. So the market is enormous. Of the 60 million, you can imagine it's an enormous market, but we're still invisible because they're not giving opportunities for us to write our stories. And we've got some wonderful stories, not only about how we are able to migrate or immigration into America, but how we were able to succeed in what we do in life, what Latinos do. I mean, what they're able to achieve in science, in outer space. I mean, there are so many opportunities for these people to give us so that we can create our stories. But unfortunately, again, we were invisible in their eyes.
So when you say in their eyes, how do we get to those people? Because as you're sharing everything that you are, it makes me think, how are we different? We're not. Simply because our families came from a different place, simply because we were born in a different place, just because I have, let's say, black hair, because I'm of Colombian descent. How does that make me any different than someone who's Caucasian or who's blonde or who's Polish? Or like, I have to say, I do see that as a struggle, that what is the difference? We're all human beings. And in life,
there is no difference. You're absolutely correct, Mabel. There is no difference. It's just the fact that we need to make noise. In America today, Black Lives Matter, they've made noises, they've made achievements. In the Emmys just recently on Sunday, 60-70% of everything there was Black, which is fine. People of color is wonderful. But there are more than just the people of color. There's brown people too. There's people like you, like me, like every other Hispanic in the United States. Again, 60 million strong. But we need to make noise. And maybe, there's something called the National Hispanic Media Coalition. They're trying to do things. The people have to get behind the fact that we need to be able to tell our stories. And our stories will be able to, influence a lot of people, whether it's black, brown, yellow, whatever.
A show that comes to mind, and it's just because it's fairly recent. I don't know if you're familiar with it, The Beauty and the Baker.
Yes.
And so I happened to watch that show. I watched
it too.
I had the pleasure of interviewing the gentleman who played the father. And I thought it was great. I thought it was a great show. It was wholesome. It had all the ingredients, in my humble opinion, of a great show.
But you know what happened?
Please let me know.
I don't think there was enough publicity and promotion. It's all marketing. I'm watching it. I hope another 100,000 or a million or several million Latinos are doing the same thing. But they're not, because they're not reaching out to them. They're putting the show out there, and then I don't see things in the newspapers. I don't see things in streaming, and they need to promote it. Promotion, and that's what's happening. They give once in a while they do something like that, but it's to me it's just like a bone they throw at you, and if it doesn't look right in their eyes, it's out, which happened to the show.
As an executive, and you've been behind the scenes and you've been in that role, I'm curious, because I thought it would probably be picked up by Hulu, perhaps Netflix, Peacock. And yet, on these different outlets, and I think Peacock in particular, they're playing back old shows. So why would they prefer old shows to a new show with this great talent of cast?
You know, that's an interesting question, and I battled with that myself. Again, I think that there is an attitude or mindset in Hollywood that if it doesn't work, why should we go ahead and try it? You know, in the eyes of the network, it didn't work for them. So again, that translates into going to the minds of all the other streaming services and stations and networks, etc.
What would you say to individuals that are starting in this industry? What do they need to do different? Like you said, there are protests, like we need to take action. We need to have our voices heard. So to those people that are up and coming or those that are already established, what should they be doing?
Yeah, I think what they should be doing is, number one, for the young folks that I'm more concerned about, is write down your dreams. How do I get to accomplish that dream? Who do I need in my life to accomplish? What are my mentors, the proper training? In other words, if you're well equipped in training and well educated in your particular profession, you will get there and you will make changes. In other words, we've got to start with the young people having a passion, okay, and the confidence that they're going to need, and the tough skin, as they say, okay. Because it's not an easy road. There's going to be bumps on those roads, but follow your dreams, go with confidence, and you will get there, and you will make changes.
You were talking about mentors, and I'm a big believer that if you have those individuals that have the experience, if they're willing to guide you and teach you what they know. However, would you agree with me? It's been my minimal experience, but it's been my experience that sometimes that's challenging, especially in the entertainment industry, because it's competitive. It's very competitive, and it comes across to me as individuals want to protect what they're able to get because it is so difficult to get anything. So how do you cross that barrier, and have you found that to be your experience?
Yes. Let me tell you, my first mentoring, I was about 15, 16 years old. I was working. I come from a household of a single parent, 3 boys, and my wonderful mom. And so we all worked, while in high school or while in college in order to maintain our home. And I was lucky at that time to meet a gentleman that I was working for in a men's shop. And I'm very inquisitive. I'm always asking questions. Again, you need to have that, okay? And you ask questions and you find out, and they will appreciate it, and they will then say, okay, this is how this is done. This is how it's done. For example, today I am on the board of directors of Ostos Community College in the South Bronx, which is one of the poorest congressional districts in America. And today what I do is I mentor these young folks into, wherever careers they want to be involved with, and give them opportunities and tell them how to pave that road. See? So starting that process. Now, in the entertainment business, which you just indicated, it is very difficult. Very difficult. However, remember I said before, well-trained. In my case, it was finance. Okay, through finance, I was able to get in there. At the same time, be able to then get into the creative process, which was my passion, was to be able to be around people, do things with people, So I became not just a numbers cruncher, as they say, but I also was able to get ideas when I worked with, for example, with Stan Lee of Marvel Comics and Tony Pastor on doing Spider-Man and Iron Man and Fantastic Four. I didn't know anything about casting voices for these shows, this animation. I sat down with people like Pastor, with Stan Lee, and they gave me opportunities by telling me how to proceed. So you got to find that person in your life that's in the industry that you're into, and find a way to have that person give you that knowledge, because you're right. Many times they will not give you that knowledge, but you have to be persistent. You have to have the passion and confidence and be able to go forward in having all your elements together.
Being recognized by the International Latino Book Awards, would you say that was particularly special because it was Latinos acknowledging your work?
I got to tell you, it is amazing. This is my second time that I won this award. The first time was back in 2009 when I received the award for my book on, it's a research and reference book and a gift book. It's called Hollywood, Se Habla Español, which is 100 years of Latinos in Hollywood films, their contributions to the industry. And it's a picture book. And again, with some wonderful referencing as to what they went through and how they were able to achieve. So this particular award, Mabel, it makes me so humbled because I'm almost 80 years old, and I'm still fulfilling my dreams. I'm still writing 5 years ahead. Where am I going to be? How am I going to get there? So Dream Chaser, that series, and especially the most current one, to me is like, I don't know what to say. It's makes me so humble. And now what I want to say is, thank you, Lord.
There's a quality about you that is so familiar, that's so kind. I'm having an experience as we're talking because it's a unique experience, and I interview quite a few people, politicians, entertainers, and everyone in the middle. But there is something about you that comes across so genuine. So thank you for taking this time to talk to me. And I also wanted to ask you, so you've had numerous roles, financier, executive, author, just various roles. Of all of the roles, do you have a favorite?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Back in the early 80s, I was involved in putting together most of the elements for a movie called Sophie's Choice. And that experience, I had to travel to Europe to make the deals for the concentration camp filming. I had to find ways of packaging the right actors so that we can sell it. We didn't have the money. The company didn't have the money, but I found ways to get the money to make the film, and the film became a huge, super success. That to me was, when sitting at the Academy Awards and you see what you've been able to accomplish with your team, and there's people, giving you these accolades, it is just mind-blowing. And when you finish a project and when you see it on the screen, it is so fulfilling, Mabel. That's why I say, casting of the Spider-Man show, 65 episodes, that was a mind-blower. That's another one. Look, most of the time I didn't know, but I took care by investigating, by going to whomever it was to get information, how to do things. And then it just came easy to me. It just came. And so I feel blessed, man.
You said that you still have ideas.
There are so many things, and now writing, oh yeah, right now I'm working on two major projects. One is a movie with a major international star in Europe, which is a film series. It's called Road Trip 1, 2, 3, etc. And then I'm doing another one, which is a streaming 6-hour movie series that I want to be able to develop for streaming, and it's called Dark Souls. And Dark Souls is inspired by a book that I read, and I fell in love with the book. And the book won an award a couple of years ago for Best Biography at the International Latino Book Fair. So I'm working on those two, and I'm excited about it, and things are looking good.
Ralph, you're looking good. It is such a pleasure. I am so humbled to have the opportunity to talk to you. Continued success. Thank you for the role model, and that's how I see you, as the role model that you serve for people in the industry, but even more so for Latinos and for all of those Latinos that are
Gracias.
It is
Mil gracias, Mabel. Lo aprecio mucho.
No, muchas gracias, porque es un placer, y lo que está haciendo para una generación nueva, lo que está haciendo para la generación que ya existe y ya está trabajando en esto, es algo tan importante. Y tienes alguien en quien poder admirar y poder tal vez seguir su carrera. So for those
Lo más importante es, sí se puede. Sí se puede. Yes, you can do it. With the proper tools, you can do it. And you can make a difference, okay? And that's what I want to do. I want to be able to make a difference so that we can progress, so that we can be proud of who we are.
How can people get access to your new book, Dream Chaser?
It's on my website. It's called Terramax, TERRAMAXENT, terramaxent.com. It's also on Amazon, but if you could go through my website, I can then sign it, individually and have it mailed out.
Ralph, thank you so much. What a pleasure talking to you. Have your voice heard and vote this November 3rd, 2020. Go to your polling locations or fill out your mail-in ballot. Together, let's spread the word.
Voting is our right as Americans.
Now more than ever, it's more than important for you to get out and vote for your country, your family, your children, and the future of America.
Tenemos que salir a votar. Tenemos que salir a dar nuestra opinión. Sal a votar.
Don't go by what you hear from your friends or family. Please do your research and vote.
To all our 18-year-olds that just turned 18, our new voters, know that your voice matters and that this is your year where you can change the game. Vote.
Pamiętaj, żeby oddać swój głos 3 listopada. To ważne.
Honor those who went through the suffrage movement. Honor those who fought for the 15th Amendment. Honor yourself. Get out and vote.
让世界听到你的美妙的声音，投票去吧。
I became a naturalized citizen because I really wanted to vote. Vote is really important. Use it. Go out and vote. November 3rd.
Assicurate di andare a votare questo 3 di novembre.
It's your privilege, it's your right, it's your duty. Get out and vote.
People fought and died for the right to vote. Please don't waste it. Let your voice be heard.
好世界听见你的神圣的一票，投票去。
Your vote is important.
Let's get out the vote. Be sure to vote this November 3rd, 2020.